Good evening, everyone. Um, excuse me. Welcome to the Journey Ahead Career Planning and Self-Care for New Social Workers. On behalf of the Tulane chapter of the National Association for Black Social Workers, we're so glad you've joined us for this important conversation. My name is Kiana Jones. I have the privilege of serving as the treasurer for Tulane NABSW. It's an honor to help host this event and to see each of you here tonight ready to engage in this meaningful conversation. This event was born from a desire to address the questions, concerns, and even the uncertainty many of us face as we transition into careers in social work. Whether you're exploring different paths, figuring out licensure requirements, navigating financial challenges, or learning how to manage stress and avoid burnout, our goal tonight is to provide you with some practical insights and encouragement as you move forward. We've put together an incredible lineup of panelists who are here to share their journeys, challenges, successes in the field of social work. And they bring a wealth of knowledge from diverse areas of practice, and we are so grateful to each of them for taking the time out to pour into all of us this evening. Here's what you can expect from tonight's event. So our advisor, Justin, he will be introducing the panelists and posing some of the curated questions submitted by some of you, our participants. After that, we'll open the floor for additional questions. You are encouraged to share your thoughts and questions in the chats. And we'll do our best to address as many of them as time allows. And then finally, we'll wrap up with some key takeaways, and our Madam President, Ms. Kennedy, will close us out. We hope that tonight not only answers your questions, but also reminds you of the incredible support system that you have in this community. Whether you're here to share, learn, or simply listen, this space is for you. So we want to thank you again for each of you being here. Let's get started. And also to add, I don't want to forget, if you can have your camera on, just to show some attentiveness and some respect to our panelists who came out to speak tonight, please, please, please pop that on if you don't mind. All right, I'll hand it over to you, Justin.
You so much, Keon. Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? It's good to see all these beautiful faces here tonight. My name is Justin Guy. I am the chapter advisor and DSW student here at Tulane. It's so grateful to see all of you all tonight, and thank you for joining us. But I really want to give a special thank you to our panelists who sent in, their request to actually be a part of this amazing event and be able to share their wisdom and knowledge with all of you all. So I know this is going to be an awesome, awesome time tonight. I want to take the time to introduce each panelist, and as I call their name, just give us, a brief history of, your expertise and how long you've been doing what you've been doing in the field of social work, and then we'll get started with the questions. So, the very first person we want to introduce tonight is Miss Avis Brown.
Everyone, I am so excited. It means a lot to me to be able to be here to share and just a little bit about me. I would have been in the field for 30 years next month. I graduated grad school from Tulane, and back then it was a little different. My focus, I was very blessed to have some guidance from a cousin who was also a social worker and had done some things to bounce ideas off of. So to be able to have a platform like this to talk to MSW students so that you can get some insight as to what it's like to really be in the field. So I'm in private practice. I have a private practice called Victory Unlimited LLC, and I do clinical counseling, consulting, and coaching services. I specialize in self-care for professionals who need to avoid burnout. And also, while doing that, I did an early retirement. I used to work for the state, and I worked in a lot of capacities there. I worked at state office where I was involved in administrative things, doing policy. I've worked in nonprofit. I recently founded a nonprofit of my own. It's called Sterling Smiles Foundation. And our goal is to help healing and coping in the community, anything to put smiles on the faces of families that are underserved. I've just done a little of a lot of things, and I'm just happy to be able to share because sometimes you don't know what you need to know. So I want to say to all of you, pick our brains. Whatever questions you ask, because looking back, I feel like I didn't take advantage or did not know the things to ask because there wasn't a platform. You're going to have people with diverse experiences. Use this. And it's time to think out of the box. There were so many boxes that we were put in 30 years ago. We have to keep evolving. And that's one of the things I tell myself. That's why I love working with interns. I love working with people working on licensures because it keeps me fresh and plugged into what's now. So I'm just happy to be here and to share.
Well, Avis, we're so glad to have you here and glad to hear all of your wisdom and your knowledge. So thank you. Our next person we're going to have Dr. Candace Beasley, our very own.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So I'm Dr. Candace Beasley, and I am a professor at Tulane University. I actually was going to get my MSW at Tulane University, and 2 days before I was going to start, Hurricane Katrina hit. And
Oh,
so that made me shift, and I evacuated to Oklahoma. So I went to University of Oklahoma to get my MSW, but I always worked in the social work capacity. My undergrad is actually in social counseling. And so came back and I circled back to Tulane. So I was the first DSW cohort of Tulane University. I have been in social work for over 20 years. I think I'm following Miss Avis for over, I think I'm hitting 25 years, Miss Avis, for 20 years. And and I'm an LCSW backs. And I agree with Miss Avis in that back in the day, you didn't have people, you didn't have a platform. And I'll say in Oklahoma, you really did not. They were shocked that I had the highest GPA of my cohort, and I was from the South. And they were shocked about that. And silent protest, y'all. They threw a party for me because I had a 4.0 GPA and I did not go. So there. So
I
nonetheless,
love
I'm
it.
in the halls of University of Oklahoma. So you can do it. And sometimes it takes a lot of people to support you and you're going to make it through, but you can't be scared to ask, especially when there's people willing to help you on your journey. Okay. And so we're all here to help support you on that journey. So ask what you need to ask. And if you forget things, hopefully there's these folks at Tulane to reach out to. You have amazing DSW students who are already social workers. Kiana is talking about, oh, social workers. Kiana's a social worker. I'm calling y'all out. Adrian's a social worker. Justin's social worker. Y'all better go find them because they're there to help you as well, not just those of us who've been in the field. They've been in the field a long time too. So we're all here to support you. So welcome tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Beasley, for putting us on blast. We appreciate that. She gonna get y'all right. That's all right now. It's a general right there. All right, next we have Miss Chriselle Crawford.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chriselle Crawford, and I'm so thrilled to be here today. Just a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in New Orleans. I graduated from Tulane's MSW program in 2021. So not too long ago, I was in the same position that you all were in. But the program has definitely set the foundation for my career in mental health and social work. Just a brief history on my background of my career. So after I graduated from Tulane, I started at a community-based mental health agency. So I gained some experience working closely with individuals and families. And then I transitioned to school social work for a little bit. And then I supported students' well-being within the educational setting. And then for the past 2 years, I have been working with children's behavioral health, splitting my time between the behavioral health facility and a school-based clinic. So I'm very passionate about mental health, making it more accessible, and also empowering families and youth to overcome challenges in their lives and everyday things. So I'm looking forward to the discussion tonight, bringing my insight on the things that I've learned so far in the field, not and also learning from the other panelists. So thank you all for having me and ask away, like everyone mentioned before.
We're so glad to have you, Chriselle. Thank you. I want to introduce Kelsey Cummings.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name's Kelsey. I graduated from the Tulane School of Social Work in 2015 from the part-time program. I'm currently living in Los Angeles, originally from Southern California, but I lived um, in I lived in New Orleans for about 10 years, and I worked in schools and college access for that entire time, including when I was in school, until pretty recently when I made a pretty big pivot to reentry. And I'm currently working as a senior program manager for a program designed specifically for system impacted and formerly incarcerated young adults. Um, I I work a lot with like systems and data and program development, but I manage a small team of people who provide direct service. So my work is still really community based. I still get to work and see really closely the work that our members are doing in the community. When I started my journey with social work in 2012, I just knew I was going to be a school social worker. There was no question. And here I am in nonprofit, not doing any kind of direct service myself. Well, a little bit, but I'm really enjoying reentry. I didn't even know that reentry was a field that I could potentially get into when I started social work. So I've been learning a ton. It's been incredible. I've met a lot of great people. And I'm very excited to share with you all tonight, to hear from the other panelists. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, we're so glad to have you. Thank you so much, Kelsey. Next, we would like to introduce Dr. Casey Freeman.
I think you said my name. I don't know if that was just my computer that was kind of messing up.
Yeah, mine was messing up too. I'm sorry, Dr. Casey
No,
Freeman.
it was a little, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yes, hello everyone. My name is Casey Freeman. Um, Brief history. So I live in North Carolina. I am quite proud. I sort of kind of call myself a golden social worker because I do have my bachelor's in social work as well as my master's in social work. I also have my master's in legal studies and my master's in public health. I am also a student of Tulane University. I am done though. I have finished my DSW. I finished in July. I walk in December. Um, I have done and continue to do a whole lot of stuff. I'm not going to tell y'all how long I have been in the field because that may tell my age, and I am told that I don't look my age, so we're going to keep it a secret. But my passion has always been public health, specifically HIV prevention. That is what I started in many, many years ago as an outreach counselor. And I hit a glass ceiling and realized that I needed a degree to get a seat at the table to really be able to speak on behalf of people who are most affected by HIV, because many times policymakers and decision makers did not look like the community. And so I got my bachelor's and then hit a glass ceiling and got my master's and hit a glass ceiling and got two more and hit another glass ceiling and decided to get my doctorate. Um, I still do that, but I don't work in that field anymore. I do research in that field. My passion is HIV prevention, and so I have done HIV and gentrification. I currently have an NIH funded study on the access, knowledge, and perceptions of PrEP amongst HBCU students, faculty, and staff, because that is also my passion. I graduated from North Carolina Central University, and I now teach at North Carolina Central University. And I am also in the Juris Doctorate program at North Carolina Central University. Um, I also am the lead clinician for the community support team of Carolina Outreach in Wilson, which is an enhanced therapy service. And I also am a forensic interviewer and social worker for Legal Aid of North Carolina. I work specifically in the disaster recovery and the domestic violence units. I also have a nonprofit that is focused on HIV prevention in the rural counties here in North Carolina. And I am the advisor for the LGBTQIA Resource Center at North Carolina Central University.
Mm. Thank you so much, Dr. Freeman. We love it. Yes. Like Keanu said, clock it. I love it. All right. And then let's see, last but not least, Dr. Lisa Weinberg. Please tell us a little bit about yourself. You are mute.
I just jumped on and you put me on the spot, huh? Good
Sure did, Dr.
evening,
Weinberg.
everyone. It is a pleasure to be here this evening. Sorry I am tardy. I had an emergency meeting to attend to, and it's still going on, by the way. So if I disappear towards the end, please forgive me. I just did not expect this to happen today. But it's a pleasure being here again. I'm Dr. Lisa Weinberg. I am a graduate of Tulane University's DSW program this past fall, 2023. I see some of my past wonderful professors on this call who have been instrumental in allowing me to become the professional that I am today. I am also currently a professor at Tulane, adjunct professor at Tulane University. As we speak, I had class today. A little bit about me, I've been in the field of social work for almost 20 years, working specifically in crisis intervention and trauma-informed care. I currently own a mental health agency, New Beginnings Behavioral Health Services, which has been in existence on the West Bank in Harvey, Louisiana for 10 years. And more recently, the owner of a nonprofit agency, the Butterfly Effect Trauma Response and Treatment Foundation, which has been in existence since 2022. And an author of 2 books that I recently published, more trauma-related works. I guess you can say trauma and crisis is my thing. Something I've always been very passionate about, and I continue to grow in that profession, or in that discipline rather, because it's something that I feel is much needed, especially with this day and time. So it's a pleasure to meet you all. It's a pleasure being here today.
Well, thank you, Dr. Weinberg. We're glad to have you. All right. So we're gonna make sure we jump on in these questions. So these are some questions for the panelists that came in and that were curated for tonight. And so the first area, we're going to talk about future career options. So we're going to go ahead and jump out there about the future. And any panelist can jump in and answer this question. And we have multiple panels answer the same question. So what are some common career paths that MSW students pursue, and what are some lesser known or emerging career options?
I'll answer. I think some of the most common are working in schools, working in hospital, working in prison, working for a hospice center, working at a dialysis center. Those are pretty common, but I think what sometimes social workers may not know is that a lot of the skills that we have are transferable skills. So even if you want to go into state government or federal government, there could be positions that are where you're providing like some didactic information, whether it's like you're teaching or doing training. There are things that the transferable skills of us understanding how people relate to one another. A lot of times, as social workers, we're a resource. We teach, we get people connected to things, but those are teaching skills. So it doesn't have to necessarily be where we're actually doing clinical counseling. We can work with other professionals and helping to guide them and to help give them the language they need to interact in the right way with either their clients or their patients or with industries. Another field that is undertapped, and I saw this emerging many years ago. A lot of your pharmaceutical sales reps were social workers. And it's because of that that sale, that person, being able to be personable, being able to develop a rapport with someone, whether you're selling durable medical equipment or if it was, pharmaceuticals or things of that nature related to the provider end of services. So those are some of the things that are not as common and that out the bat you don't think about, but also using those skills to write and to write books, and whether it's not just books, but create curriculums. And that's something where you can start making money in your sleep because you can digitize it and, put a website up. And for me, one of the things that I did not or wasn't a focus was the entrepreneurial side. Yeah, you get your license, you get your LCSW, or back then BCSW, get your LCSW, and then you go into private practice. But there wasn't that understanding of entrepreneurship, of owning certain things and helping to create opportunities for other people. So that's something to really focus on and think about as you're in a job, that you may be there to learn certain things in direct practice for hands-on, but to also think bigger than that. And then also creating, you could be the person that's creating a framework that can then help to shift a whole family or a whole system, or you can come up with the curriculum that's helping major corporations onboard their new staff. So those are lanes that are very, very good lanes for social workers.
Thank you so much, Avis. Dr. Freeman?
Yes. So I just want to kind of speak about some areas in social work that I work in that I don't really see a lot of social workers. And one of the things that I have at North Carolina Central University that we're trying to really put to paper and take to a national scale is what we call S squared SW, which is the six-figure or seven-figure social worker. Because so often we hear about you go into this field and you can't make money. I am the living proof. I promise you, I'm a Capricorn and very materialistic. I am proof that you can definitely come into this profession and make money. Not that we're looking for money. However, I am definitely an advocate that our profession should not be weaponized against us and say, well, it's a calling. It can still be a calling and I should still be paid appropriately. But some of the fields that I have worked in that I have gotten very lucrative contracts that are emerging, or they're fields that social workers are sought after, but there are not a lot of social workers that go into. Sports social work is an emerging area that is very lucrative. One of my mentors, Dr. Anita Daniels here in North Carolina, well, she's not in North Carolina anymore. She's actually down there in New Orleans with you guys because she got a contract and she now heads the sports social work program at LSU. And she's literally doing therapy with their student athletes, and makes very good money. She asked me to go with her, but I'm very vested in North Carolina. However, the money was very tempting. Um, Policy work. And I see it even with my students in North Carolina where you talk about policy and students are like, oh no, policy so hard. But literally as social workers, we are trained to understand policy, to evaluate policy and implement policy. And so working in someone's office, or better yet, actually getting elected to office. I am very happy to say that here in North Carolina, I was working with a campaign for a social worker who was elected to the North Carolina General Assembly. And we now have 4 General Assemblymen who are social workers. And that's a great thing. And Lord, the last one just slipped my head. What was it? Policy, sports, social work. Oh, I forgot. Let me think about it and I'll come back. I've completely forgot.
That's fine, Dr. Freeman. We appreciate that. Dr. Beasley?
Yes, I'm with the Capricorns. I'm a Sagittarian and I love money. So a lot of December kids up in here. So yes, policy work, Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm someone who graduated, I think it was in Dr. Weinberg's class, now works in DC, right? Works in policy, who graduated from the DSW program. We also have a sports medicine, social work and sports certificate in our MSW program. We also have a sports medicine certificate that MSW folks can go to. I think that's over in the med school. Go find Parker Robinson, right? Go ask about it. Also, I love the conversation that's being had. What I personally do not see, though, when we're talking about the path of least resistance, I don't see social workers. Let's just go back to practicum. MSW students don't go into medical social work. MSW students are thrown into, now I believe case management, and I teach all my students, is the foundation of social work practice. That's my belief, right? But I find that the social majority automatically hits clinical social work way before people of color, right? Which automatically puts us at a deficit. So, for example, you don't see a lot of people getting, social workers getting contracts at EAPs and employee assistance programs, who pull down a lot of money in contracts. I have, right? But now we also have this conversation going that Black people can't pass the LCSW exam, right? And so I'm saying you're connecting those things with, well, maybe I'm not knocking macro practice. I've done it. I've done everything. Most of us on this panel have done everything. You can't put it in asylum. Social work practice is micro, meso, macro practice, right? One of the problems I believe comes in is because our systems do not allow for people of color to start off in discharge planning and case management and those things in a medical profession, right? We just get dumped in CPS. I'm just being honest, or we just get dumped in agencies. So nothing's wrong if that's where you are right now on your path. I'm saying to be intentional, because some things are transferable and some things are not. I'm just being honest. Okay, some things you can build upon, some things you can't. And those are the things where you're going to have to advocate for yourself. All right. Just like you fight to get those Dolce Gabbana shoes. You understand what I'm saying? You fight to go get the stuff you want. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You know how to go find information. You know how to go find them shoes on Amazon, and you know how to go find them Coach purses. Use those same searching skills to go find what is out there. And you tell these people, that's where I want to be placed. This is what I want my experience to look like. You use those same search skills. You can't have it both ways. You know how to search for the shoes and the perfume and the cologne and the cause, but you can't search for your practicum experience. Same searching. All right. So that's what I would like for you all to do. And I like that someone talked real quick about writing. You all have got to write. Stop running from writing. Okay. You have to have the freedom to publish. You have to have the freedom to write books, right? If you want to. You have to have the freedom, like some of the people who's hosting this panel. I want to get my doctorate degree. There's money in that. Dr. Freeman said, you know what? I hit a glass ceiling. I'm about to jump over it. I'm going, and guess what part of that is? Dr. Freeman's not scared to write. And if you know how to write, it's a cakewalk for us, because they can't teach you anything because we've already lived it. So you're just collecting information. This is our lived experience. But the writing is what keeps half of you from doing what you're called to do. So let people teach you how to write and stop resisting it and just learn it. It's a skill set. It's all it is. And that is part of social work education and the profession as well. So I just wanted to throw that in. That is a path of least resistance. Anything dealing with writing, we run from. So whatever that is, get over that. And you'll also go into career paths that maybe you would have never considered.
All right. The block is hot tonight. All right. Come on, Dr. Beasley, Dr. Freeman.
Yes, I remembered. Um, and population health or public health. Um, Especially after COVID, what COVID did, as devastating as it was, what COVID did was really illuminated to the powers that be. And this is not knocking the population and public health people. But it illuminated to the CDC, it illuminated to the World Health Organization, it illuminated to the NIH that social workers are uniquely qualified to handle population health issues. And since COVID, I am looking, because again, I have an NIH grant, and I'm looking at many of these positions that are being hired in the CDC, that are being hired in the NIH, that are even being hired at WHO, where previously they always wanted that population health or public health degree, and it is now listing they want social workers, and they are actively recruiting social workers because population health, public health is very nuanced, right? They know their stuff. And if you ask a population health or a public health person, their bread and butter is a community assessment. However, they are not trained to take that data and create program. And they do not know how to then evaluate, program, and implement it in the most efficacious way. And the CDC found that during COVID, when they began to release funding to social workers and they began to put social workers in these positions of leadership, when we were trying to get the disenfranchised, the unhoused, minority communities, and we were trying to get them tested and we were trying to get them vaccinated, and population health had, this is the community assessment and this is what you need to do. And social workers came in and said, oh, but you're forgetting that the African American community still has medical mistrust and it's going to be hard. But if you do this way, you do that. They realized that social workers are uniquely qualified, and they are hiring, MSWs at a higher rate than what they are hiring PhDs in population health and public. I'm just, if that's your thing, and the World Health Organization is currently hiring, and they have a not an internship, almost like a fellowship that is actively recruiting MSWs to go over to Oxford for 2 years, and it is paying $250,000 a year for those 2 years.
I might have to go apply myself. All right. Anybody else want to go ahead over there? Drop the link in. We all get paid. Look at you there. You drop the link. I know that's right. Let's all get this money. All right. We're all catching the bag. All right. So our next question is going to pivot into leadership. How can an MSW graduate position themselves for leadership roles within social work organizations?
I'm
Oh,
sorry, could you repeat?
oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I can definitely repeat it. So how can MSW graduate students position themselves for leadership roles within social work organizations?
I can answer this one, or I can try to. So I have been really lucky to be with most I've really only worked for, this is my third company, like as far as my like a big girl job, right? Like I worked at Starbucks or whatever, but I worked at KIP for a very long time, and then I worked at College Track. And now I'm at Impact Justice, which is of course a different organization, but I stayed within those organizations, and I this might come up later, but I networked, right? I am not someone who likes, I'm an introvert. I'm not very comfortable kind of putting myself out there and talking to new people. And it was definitely something I had to push myself to. It was almost like a fake it till you make it kind of situation where it was really hard, but I was like, I have to do this. And just between some of those relationships that I made from other people at different organizations, that was an opportunity to move into a leadership position when other people were seeing the work I was doing. But another thing was just having conversations with my manager or whoever was supervising me to let them know, like, this is where I want to be. What do I need to do, or what can I do to put myself in a better position? That has been really important. And then also like looking at those leadership positions that you want, reaching out to people who are in those positions and talking to them about what they did to get themselves there. It's not going to be the same pathway for everyone, but it can give you an idea of some things that you can do to put yourself in a better position for those opportunities. I don't think it's one of those things where you have to necessarily be doing the best work and be doing it 60 hours a week. I think that there are places where you can work a 40-hour work week and do your job well. I also think one important piece to think about or to keep in mind with this is you want to be doing something that you enjoy. It's going to be really hard to move up in positions if there's some underlying I don't necessarily want to be doing this, right? Or you want to be your like end goal is a different kind of area of social work. So those are just like a few things that I've been able to do that I feel like put me in better positions to be in leadership.
Thank you,
Okay.
Kelsey. Chriselle?
Yeah. So for me, it was developing and mixing practical experience and like strong interpersonal personal skills, networking, and helping me get those skills in order to move to those bigger positions. And for people to understand, like Chriselle can handle this situation, so maybe let's move her into this position where she can manage an even bigger team. So you can start off small in the agency that you're in right now and show them that you are a leader. We're all leaders. We're social workers. So we can continue to grow from that aspect. And like Kelsey said, if you're passionate about it, you're going to grow in it and you're going to do well.
Thank you. Thank you
Um,
so much. Dr.
I
Freeman?
just Yes, I just want to add a quick caveat with the leadership thing, right? Like, I get it, and it's important for us as social workers to be in leadership roles, not only for ourselves and our bottom line, but for the profession. But I always say this, and I continue to say this, do not allow the morality of this profession or your passion to be weaponized against you. And I say that because you will go, especially if you go into smaller nonprofit agencies or you go into roles where upper management really doesn't understand social work, right? They will use that to get you to do the work of a leader without paying you and giving you the title of a leader. And that is never okay. Like, I get it. We want to be a leader, we want to be in those positions, but I found myself, I was at a job and I was at a nonprofit and I was doing compliance, I was doing grant work, I was doing all of this stuff, and I was being paid pennies. And it was always, well, this is your passion. You're passionate about HIV. It'll pay out. Think about the community. Okay, but also think about my mortgage. Think about the fact that I like to go out of the country. Like, this is not fair. So be very mindful as you're maneuvering yourself for those leadership positions. Do not allow your profession to be weaponized against you.
Oh, I have to jump in. That is so good. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Dr. Freeman, because I was going to say just always being consistent. And when you're consistently adding value and helping to solve the problems or address issues, taking care of the system or the people that you're serving in whatever capacity, you're going to stand out. But it actually can be used against you. And I had a very similar experience where the second job out of grad school, the second job I got was at a inpatient hospital that was a psych hospital and a rehab hospital. They were having licensing come in. I did not know when they hired me, I was supposed to be one of three social workers, the director, someone else was there that was an MSW, and then myself. It was going to be three. We were going to split the caseloads. Well, what I did not know is that the person who was the director had already resigned, and the 2 week notice, like I'm coming in, they're going out. The other social worker was a very low performer. So when it was time to do group, like let's just say group's supposed to start at 1, and we were supposed to alternate taking assessments. His assessments were always late. And then my thing was, well, this person needs to be seen, and the psychiatrist needs to know what's going on with them so that we can help them. So I would do the assessment so that it wouldn't be late. And then it goes to medical records and it gets a flag. Here it is, group's supposed to start at 1. It was his turn to do group, but it's 105, 110. I would do the group. So when they saw that I was a high performer, they actually asked him to resign even though they helped him get another job. It's like, we don't need you here messing our stuff up. Licensing come in and they want to, hey, we want you to be the director of social services, but you're still on probation, so we can't pay you the salary. And I'm thinking, well, a minute ago, y'all had a salary for 3 people, but it was a lesson learned. I did that for 6 months. For me, I went back and revisited them after my probation was up and was like, well, this title is great, but it's not paying my bills. But when they couldn't find the money, I was able to use that title, though, to leverage when I started looking for other jobs. And it did help me get a better job, but I'm not going to be taken advantage of. You can still be a high performer. You can still be consistent in your work, but the relationship building, getting names, being a person of integrity in your work ethic, those are things that are going to help you.
So, thank you so much, Avis. I love this. All right, y'all. Everybody good? Y'all taking notes? All right, now. Let's see. So our next question is, what skills or competencies were most essential in your work that you didn't fully appreciate during your MSW program?
Like Dr. Beasley said, writing. Um, I am a good writer. I have always considered myself a good writer. I do not recommend this to anyone, but I am a person that I can write a 10-page paper the day before, edit it, turn it in, and still get an A, right? But if that's not you, don't do that. But I did not appreciate until I actually got into the field and started having to do clinical notes. And I was working for a law firm, so my clinical notes were also legal notes. And I remember getting feedback on my notes, and they were like, "This ain't it. This is not it." Um, and so I had to learn how to write according to the audience and not according to what I thought felt good. And like, Dr. Beasley has said, every day I write. Whether I am, I'm a researcher as well, but I write clinical notes, I write guardianship hearing notes, I write a whole bunch of stuff. You cannot be afraid of writing in this profession because you will get burnt out because it will become a chore as opposed to it's bread and butter of what we do. We have to have notes. You have to have notes about what you do, whether you're in policy or direct practice. So that is the one thing that I wish I had paid a little bit more attention when I was in my research class on really how to write because, even in the DSW program, yes, I finished. Did I have a full-blown panic attack when I turned in the first draft of my APP and it came back? Yes, I did. It was very bad. Dr. Yarvis had to call me. It was like, it's okay. And I was like, no, I'm not meant to be a doctor. And he's like, no, it's not that. It's just that you're not going to be able to get away with what you've been able to get away with. So really perfect your writing as much as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you should not just be phoning it in when it comes to your notes.
Dr. Freeman, I amen that sentiment. I feel the exact same way. I was always a student that could just put together something really quickly and do well. Was always a student that didn't need much preparation, but I wish I'd focused and paid more attention to my writing skills back then because over time it got a lot better, but had I practiced it at an earlier stage, it wouldn't have been so much. It was growing pains for me, like having people to criticize your writing and you're like, I'm doing the best that I can, well, what I have, but knowing that you had to nurture that, right? And people don't understand your writing skill is not something you learn overnight. It's something that develops as time goes on. So you have to start it early on for it to be where it needs to be later on in your career. So I echo that sentiment.
Thank you so much, Dr. Beasley.
I would say theory. I ignored theory, right? And so not understanding that theory explains why you even do what you do. And I think that as people of color, we just know what to do because all of this is our lived experience. And we just jump in and we know what to do. But I think what we don't like to admit to ourselves is that this construct was not created by us, and we're expected to function in it. And that means that you must give explanations to what you're doing. And I think that's where we also struggle writing and explaining why you're doing what you do. And for MSW students, even the most brilliant, if they're asked, well, why is this kid behaving like this? Well, because, they've been through a lot. Well, what the hell does that mean? Right, Dr. In court, what does that mean? You have to explain something that means nothing. And then you fast forward to the doc students, they can't formulate their hypotheses and their research question. They know what they want to write about, but it can't be articulated because but you don't know how to articulate it in the manner that's publishable, right? And all of that is based upon theoretical concepts. And so I wish I would have paid attention more in theory when I was in my own program, but I caught up because I finally decided to read the books. Y'all know y'all don't read. I finally decided to read the books. I said, oh, that's where that information was, because I'm just smart. I'll say it, I'm smart. Not in statistics, y'all. Y'all don't want me teaching y'all statistics, but I'm smart as hell. And so I just knew it and I passed the test and I just did it. But I didn't crack open that book until I got to school. Then I opened the book and I read it. I'm like, oh, this is how they knew. And so I read it after. And so that's why we're so hard on y'all, because y'all have to read it, because y'all think it just comes out of the sky. They ain't no more smarter than you. It's in the book. They just read and you don't. But life is set up where you can't as easy as they can. You better find the time to. And then when you read it, it'll start making sense. So I'll say I just wished I could have read more and studied theory a little bit more.
I agree. Theory. Oof. I don't want to talk about theory. Anyways. But we all do definitely need theory. It is definitely needed. I think a lot of us who took maybe Dr. Thayer, we were forced to learn theory for sure. So yes. Okay. All right. Let's see. Our next question is going to be, let's see, regarding licensure. So we all know as social workers, there's some biases regarding licensure. NASW and ABSW has been working on talking about that. So let's talk about that a little bit more deeper. So what steps did you take to prepare for your licensure exam, and what resources or strategies would you recommend?
I can speak to this one because I think I did quite a bit. I was licensed in Louisiana, currently licensed in California. Um, there's a program called the Therapist Development Center that has an LCSW prep course. I took that course and I took a lot of notes. It also talks a little bit. Yeah, I think a lot of people, it's like one of the go-to ones. For me, I think the part of the exam was like understanding how the questions were written, and the Therapist Development Center really helps the like framing of the actual exam and not just like knowing social work, which of course is part of it too. I also had an app. I think it's um I can find it in a minute and share it, but there was an app that is like multiple choice questions, and I was doing that all the time, all day. Like when I picked up my phone and had an extra minute, I was answering questions. Thank you. Answering questions on my phone. And then there was also a 2-day course. The 2-day course I took before my MSW. There's an MSW exam, right? Yes. Okay. In Louisiana, I took a different course before that, and I'll try to find the name of that 2-day in-person course too. That was super helpful. So just kind of some of those like extra study materials were very helpful for me.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree. And I think some people put information in the chat. So the links for Therapist Development Center, Don Ackbar. I know I used Don Ackbar when I took mine. Michelle, well, what input would you have for this?
Yep. So while I was at my MSW at Tulane, they offered a license exam prep with Parker. Robinson. And that was incredibly helpful. And on top of that, I also studied with my supervisor who I had before I even needed her. But we organized like weekly study sessions, and she gave me information that I would have needed for the test. So that was really helpful as I prepared to, and study groups. That was really helpful.
Thank you.
Can I,
Thank you.
I just
can
want
I,
to say I'm kind of old school. The apps are wonderful. Back when I took, they didn't have that. There was actually the book manual. There was like a volume of books, and there were four of them that had questions, like hundreds and hundreds of questions. So not only did I study that, and it had the rationales, but I also, because we kind of learn differently, like I talk a lot. So I used to have to write lines a lot when I was in school. But anyway, I learned to focus on the positive things. So when I would do a practice test, and for each one that if I got it wrong, I would write that question and write the uh, I would write the I would write the answer just to reinforce in the stick. And the thing of it is, do as many practice, whether it's on the app, whether you're writing it out, or however you, but I also started recording it and then listening to questions and the answer. It was just, I bombarded myself with a lot of those. And so now as I supervise people, we start towards the end doing that same thing. We will go over questions, or we'll go over like this theory of why, what was in play here for this particular thing. But then I also will match people with a study partner for accountability, because I think sometimes people will think, especially if they're doing it back to back, that it's so, oh, I don't really have to study, or I don't have to have this dedicated time. I can go and I've been doing this work. Well, no, you do have to prepare, and having some order in your life to doing that too. It's like, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from this time to this is a sacred time of my study and preparation. And I'm getting myself in a mindful way of knowing that this is what I'm going to do. I'm this commitment to going and meeting this person, or this commitment to logging on with this person where we're studying together, those things are important.
Thank you. Dr. Beasley?
all right, real quick. First of all, talking about spirituality, stop telling people you're going to take that test. Stop making that announcement. Keep it to yourself. Everyone doesn't mean you well. Okay? You go take it. Don't announce it. You tell maybe your mom or maybe your lover, whatever the case is, whoever's close to you, you tell that one person, you go take that test, you keep it to yourself. Everybody don't mean you well. If you fail it, it's kept to yourself. You understand? Then you go back and take it. You can go get your nails done. You can save the money to take the test again, and you keep taking it again. For those of you who haven't taken the LMSW test, you cross that stage, you go get liquored up, you go take a nap, sleep it off, you get up the next day, you go take the test. You understand? Stop letting all this time pass. As the time passes, the test is changing. What else you have to know is that this is a national test, okay? Which means it's a generalist test. Go and study the generalist practitioner diagram. That is all they can test you on, right? And so what they're testing you on is, what do you do first? What do you do next? What do you do first? What do you do next? Assessment, yes. Maybe gain rapport, assessment. Everything they're asking you. Do you ask yourself, is this an assessment? Right? Am I doing an assessment, or am I doing the next thing in the 7-step intervention generalist practice model? 7-step generalist practice model for social work. Go find it. Go study it. Every single question they ask you to pass the LCSW. Final thing, stop answering questions based upon your lived experience. You're a person of color. That means every damn answer is correct, depending on what trauma you lived through. All of them right. What did the book say is right? Correct? So in our community, a temperature of 99, I was in nursing school too. A temperature of 99 is a fever. A temperature of 100 is a fever. A temperature of 101 is a fever, correct? For our community. But what does nursing say? It's not until you reach a 101 till it's a fever. So that is the correct answer. 100 is incorrect and 99 is incorrect. 101 is incorrect because that's what the book said. So that is how you prepare. You study the 7-step generalist practice model, LMSW and LCSW. Go study what the book said. Stop telling people your business, and you will pass the test. Simple. That's how you prepare for it. Go and do prepare. You got people who work at your school who write for this test. Know the space you're in. Go ask them. Go talk to them. That's why you're paying all this money. Go ask how the test is set up. All right. And when they're offering trainings to you and you're not going, that's not smart. So Chriselle is telling you, she's one of the people who writes for the test. That's not smart to not go. You can't afford it. Go tell her. You can't afford it. What you being prideful for? I can't afford it. She'll let you in anyway. Go tell her. You'll get in, right? And then just prepare for the test like that, and you shouldn't have a problem because Tulane doesn't want to mess up its pass rate. That's all.
And
Thank you.
one other little tidbit, and that was great, great direction, Dr. Beasley. But one thing I also tell my staff when they go to take that test, which a lot of people don't think about, is you have to have great time management, of course, if you're not a good test taker. But what I would recommend is taking a 5-minute break, but step outside of the building. Step outside. From what I did was I stepped outside and I sat in the grass, closed my eyes, and I ran my fingers through the grass for like 5 minutes. I didn't worry about the test. I set a timer on my watch, and I washed away all of that frustration for the first half and all that information that I had. I had to dump that information to get ready for the second half of the test because the test is extremely long. You have to get rid of some of that, and you have to like decompress a little bit and then go back in and tackle the rest of it. And a lot of people say, I just want to power through. You get testing fatigue after a certain amount of time. Take a little time to step out and to let some of that go and then go back in and then tackle that. That would be my bit of advice for that.
I echo the same thing. believe the test was 170 questions, 20 questions do not count. So when I took it, after every 50 to 100 questions, I took a break, just walked around outside, got some fresh air, came back, tackled a little bit more, took another break, came back, reviewed my answers, and then submit. So, yes, definitely have a strategy when you go into this test because it's anxiety provoking. And I echo what Dr. Beasley said, do not tell anybody. I didn't even tell my own grandma, and that's one of my favorite people in the world. She was mad though, well, but she was happy for me at the same time. But she had a meal waiting for me when I finished. So, so just let y'all know, like, don't tell anybody. Oh, and take the day off before the test. Do some self-care. Go get a massage. Go get you some brunch, whatever the case may be. Love on yourself the day before so that way you're relaxing. Do not study the day before. Okay. Now,
And
Rochelle brought up a great point about studying with her supervisor. So let's talk about that. What are some of the characteristic traits that you would look for as an MSW is looking for a back supervisor?
uh, so I'm gonna be very honest. I really did not care who was my supervisor as long as it was paid. Um, and meaning that it was paid through my job. Now I was very fortunate. My supervisor is a Black woman. She graduated from an HBCU, so I was incredibly fortunate. But I was not trying to pay out of pocket some of the prices that I had seen that people were charging. I don't do supervision because I just don't have time to do it now. If I did, I would really like to offer it for free to Black social workers because I do believe we need more clinicians. I think though that you almost look for in your supervisor the same things you would look for in a mentor. Someone who you know and recognize is going to pour into you. Someone that you are, this is the most important thing in a mentor, supervisor, anybody, somebody that you can accept critique from. A lot of times people are like, I know people who have like, oh, my friend, she can do my supervision, so I'm gonna do it. And 6 months in, they ready to butt heads because this is your friend and familiarity breeds contempt. This person cannot critique you. And that's what a supervisor, that's what someone should be able to do who is going to be overseeing this process. And someone who has a vested interest in you going out into the field and representing them well. Because if you have a supervisor who really don't know anything about you and really don't care anything about you, they're just going to sign that paper to say that you got your hours and let you go out into the field and fumble. You need somebody who's like, I am not going to let you walk out of here and go become fully licensed and in 6 months be up for an ethical review board. Then they're looking at me like, what did I just let out into the field? You need someone who you can accept critique from and who is vested in your success.
Yeah, very good. And the point you brought up too is about even when you're on a job, sometimes you may look at the salary of the job, but it may not be what you expect, but you have to weigh the benefits, the pros and the cons, and factor in, will supervision be provided at this place of employment, or will I have to pay for it out of pocket? And if if I have to pay for it out of pocket, will that supervisor on my job allow me to use my work time, or do I have to do it after hours and factor all of those things in? So sometimes a benefit could be making a little less money, but you have a supervisor that's going to provide supervision that's not just signing off, that is really wanting to meet with you, go over your cases, know how to anticipate some of the things that you may not know, and understands the role of supervision that's not, you know, just knows the role of supervision to help you so that you're not going to go out there and make mistakes that then falls on them as well. So those are important things. And I interview people, and I've had to, in some instances, hey, this won't work out. And I'm gonna be very honest. One lady, I said, it's great that you want to invest this money in supervision, but I really think, and I said it in a nice way, I let her know that she really needed to do some individual therapy on her own, because it wasn't going to, no. So nobody ever told you this is your ninth person. You've had one. What they didn't tell you is that you need to be in therapy. And so let's do that.
For sure.
So for myself, supervision has shaped my career, and she has been such a light. I was very fortunate to have her as my field placement coordinator at Tulane, and we connected, and I said, I need you to be my supervisor because I love the way that you practice, the way that you think. We are able to have honest conversations about what we believe in the field. She was approachable, very experienced. So just finding someone that you connect well with. And for me, I didn't mind spending the money because I knew that she will be a person that will guide my career. And I think she was amazing for me.
And I just want to say one final thing really quick, because we are where we are and we are who we are, so I feel like I can say this. As Black clinicians, it is very important for your supervisor to be Black. This is my personal experience, and that is because navigating this career field is going to be difficult as a person of color. Because when we go into certain spaces, we are put into certain boxes, and we're automatically told that we should relate to this particular community, or we should automatically want to go into this role. And it is sometimes hard if you have a supervisor who does not understand that struggle. My very first job, like I said, I work in HIV prevention. That's my very first job. And this is my MSW, but I was not yet an LCSWA. But I had a supervisor who was sending me into very dangerous situations because he thought I was the one who could relate to those individuals. And so when I got to the point that I had got my LCSW and I was beginning to do my supervision, and again I had a Black woman, And I was scared to say anything to her at first because I didn't want to seem like I couldn't do it. I didn't want to seem like I was trying to generalize this community, but it was a dangerous situation in which I was going into there with just some testing kits at the end of the day. And I had a conversation with her, and it was the biggest relief for me that she understood where I was coming from, and she helped me to tailor my response to my actual to the agency supervisor about why this was not okay, and why, if you feel that this is a dangerous situation for my white counterparts, it is still dangerous for me. Just because the people look like me, you feel like we automatically share some level of rapport, which is not true. So I really think that if you are wanting to go into this field and really progress, it is important to have someone who can help you kind of avoid some of those pitfalls. Some of them you're not going to be able to avoid, but somebody who can help pull you out, somebody can help you understand what you are walking into. Because as much as the NASW screams inclusion, right? From the top of our lungs, the NASW is all about inclusion. This is still a profession that has its own issues with systemic oppression and racism. Um, I was at the CSWE. I got into a little bit of trouble. I don't care. I'm a troublemaker. But I had said to some of the people that if you guys are very intentional about trying to get more Black clinicians out there, then you need to look at the process for accreditation in the CSWE, because what you are not recognizing is that HBCUs do not have the resources to go through this process the way that PWIs do. And I was told it was in the right place. I was like, well, they're in my face, so it's always the right place. But this profession still deals with those things. So it's important to have supervision that is going to help you understand what you are walking into.
Better preach, Dr. Freeman. That's what I'm talking about. Then we'll go ahead and pass around the collection plate. It's getting gooder and getting gooder. I know that's right. Yes, Keanu, that heart is full. All right, you all. So we'll talk about self-care a little bit. How do you set healthy boundaries with clients and organizations, particularly when facing high caseloads or emotional heavy work?
Come on. Self-care is my jam. Let me just say this. Let me just say this. Social work in so many in most capacity is very heavy work. For many years, I worked with survivors of sexual trauma. I worked with the children, and I did a non-offending caregiver group with the parents or caregivers. And this is the thing: it's so important that this is a body, we're a vessel, and it's like people are dumping their yuck stuff on us constantly. And so it is important for us to offload and to do so in a healthy way, which brings me to how I ended up creating a framework. It's my signature framework. It's called the Silver Lining Self-Care Treatment Plan. And it was really birthed out of a place where I saw myself as a busy professional that was doing this, going. So taking care of people so much that even when I had a life crisis, I had a major loss in my family, I was still on autopilot, but I became different. And so I was noticing some signs of post-traumatic stress. But anyway, this is the thing. I was like, you've been writing treatment plans for people all these years. What's your treatment plan for yourself? And the treatment plan is actually a acronym for the 8 core concepts to incorporate in your life that you need to do on a regular basis to offset that stuff. And it's basic. The short version is you have to make sure you're intentionally keeping your cup full, like, and replenishing it on a regular basis with healthy things, not toxic things. Sometimes people think of self-care as things that are actually self-indulgent and not self-care, but it's important to have boundaries, meaning, no, this is my work number, this is my work line. I'm not texting a client. I have a cutoff time. My phone goes to sleep. Anybody could get it. There's a no access. And because I do so many things and I wear so many hats, it's important that there's a time that I have that's for my family or my significant other or for friends or colleagues, but then there's just this time for me. So I will take a self-care sabbatical where it's like I do my trips with y'all, then I do my trips with me. The trip with me might be just going to the park for an hour and a half eating crawfish. My hands all messed up, so the phone is in the car, and it's like I don't have to hear anybody's conversation. I'm going to work by myself. I mean, I'm going to eat. I enjoy a movie by myself. I can go into a restaurant and eat by myself because I need to decompress and offset some of that yuck stuff that people have poured into me. And I'm sorry, that means not then going home watching the news or keeping up with politics and all those different things because we are affected by them. We cannot turn it off. So we have to replenish with good stuff, and we just have to make sure like we're keeping our minds fresh, our souls fresh, so that we can be renewed because you're going to burn out. You're going to burn out, and or you're going to be unhealthy in some way. In some way, it's going to manifest in relationships, in ulcers, in migraines, in all of these other things. And I'm telling you, I have been incorporating this now for 5 years. I have a treatment plan. I have a self-care treatment plan that I work on 3 goals at any given time, and they're in a smart goals format, and that keeps me healthy. It keeps me sane. And this is on any job. You have to prioritize yourself, and you teach people how to take care of you, meaning when they text you at 8 o'clock at PM, you respond at 8 o'clock AM. So that's my little soapbox. Oh, I'm sorry, I said that was my little soapbox. I had to say that because we have to stay well if we want to do this for the long haul and leave a legacy, for the people.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I'm a big advocate for self-care, and thank you. So if you have any other self-care tip, want any more self-care tips, definitely reach out to Avis because that is her whole brand. She is a woman of self-care. I've learned a lot from her myself. We want to pivot into the next part of our event, and we want you all as the audience to ask our panelists some questions. We want to take some time to take some questions. So we can, I think we have the Q&A chat available. Not sure if it's working or not, but if not, you can raise your hand and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I don't see the Q&A section.
Or did not
Just
do it.
it's not, it's okay.
Technology.
Hands, y'all can put it in the chat as well. It doesn't have to necessarily be, you
Yeah.
don't have to come off mute if you don't feel comfortable.
Please ask questions. This is your time. This is all about, all right, Miss Regina.
Good evening, everyone. I really don't have a question. I just want to thank everyone, the officers and advisors for putting this together, to thank our panelists for such inspiration, such information, education on this social work industry. I'm new to the game. Well, not necessarily new to the game, but I'm new. I just completed my coursework at Tulane. I'll be graduating in December, and it's been a difficult path. But with the information that you guys have provided today, I feel lifted and I definitely feel inspired. So I just want to say thank you so much. And please excuse me for not turning on my camera, but my bandwidth was a little shaky and I didn't want to miss anything. So excuse me for that.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate you. All right. Anybody have any questions? I said, this is your space. This is your time. Tisha, I see you came off mute.
Yes, I was trying to raise hand. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. This has been amazing and really wonderful. Good to hear everybody and see some familiar faces. I want to just kind of ask because my situation is a little different. So most of you wear a lot of different hats. I did that. Like did multiple jobs, social work and the school, different things. But for whatever reason, I never pursued leadership type roles. So I have a lot of experience, I feel like, in different capacities. But just wondering, well, I decided to slow down after we became empty nesters. So children left, and now I'm in a different place, went back to school, and I should, I'm still in this program. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it till the end. And then, but I'm just kind of wondering, it feels like I'm in a way putting myself back out there, which is what I want to do. I think I have some opportunity to be really in helping support people. I do have my supervisory license, so I'm thinking, that's a good path. It's like so many opportunities and so many things you want to do. Those spaces to keep the all of the different opportunities going, because you're still holding on to those, and I kind of let some of them go. Like I just kind of said, because I have like a teaching thing, I'm just like, let that go. Still have it, I just let it go, especially during now while I'm in school. But do I pick it back up, or just wondering? And I know we have to do what's right for us as individuals, but just wondering your path. Like, did people approach you for the different board opportunities and different things, or did you seek those out?
For me, I think people sought me out for certain leadership positions. I had some things, like certain boards that I'm currently on, I had no desire to do before someone came up to me and say, "Hey, I have this opportunity for you. I think you'd be great at it." Of course, I had to really ponder and decide if this is something I really want to take part in, because it was never something on my radar. But once I did, a whole different, a new world opened up for me, and different possibilities came about. So for some things, that's the way it happened, but other things has always been like a passion or a dream of mine. And coming to Tulane has afforded me a lot of those dreams that I saw for myself. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think some people sought me out for some things, and then some things are things that I've always really envisioned for myself. But like you mentioned, you have to be careful of, either way, piling on too many of those things, because they can become overwhelming, and then you're not giving your all to every um, aspect of what you're doing. And that's where I'm finding myself now. It's like, okay, should I have taken this opportunity because maybe it's too much, kind of thing. And now I have to pull myself away from a couple of them. So it's trial and error, I guess. And I guess I'm glad to have had the opportunity and to even know that it's a point where I think it's too much, because I could have never had it at all and never known, if that makes sense.
Mm. Thank you so much, Dr. Weinberg. Dr. Beasley?
Okay, I know y'all are trying to run down for DSW students and people pursuing their doctorate degrees specifically. Go apply for your open an LLC. Open an LLC. When you open your LLC and register with the state, and I'll find it, I'll send it to Andrea or Adrian and have them disseminate it, because I can't think of it. I was looking for it. I can't think of it off the top of my mind. But there's an agency that is very plausible. I think they only charge you $200, and it's awesome because they do all the running around with your state, and you don't have to mess with it. And then they come back and they give you all of your state stuff and your blah blah. Okay. And I don't even know what the name of all that is, but they do it for you. Okay. And then you apply for your NPI, get your NPI number. Okay. And also register. It's beautiful. Invoice to go. Invoice the number 2GO. It's beautiful because people pay me fast. I don't play with them. As soon as I finish done any engagement, I click send. They give me my money real quick. And it makes it all beautiful and everything. The fun part, figure out what you want the name of your LLC to be, right? because I think this is another problem. Once again, we just talked about, and probably Dr. Freeman knows, and the other panelists knows, right? We always talk about having our own businesses and everything, right, Dr. Freeman? What the hell are you going to do? What are you going to do? That's how we start extending ourselves. Once again, what is your focus going to be? What are you going to do? You have to have a focus. What is it going to be? Okay. Yes, Kiana, give me my, but what are you going to do? And once you figure out what is that specialty that you want to have when you're first starting out, now that is what you're going to target. And I think that when you start publishing and that first publication comes, that is when people start seeing you. No joke. That's when they start seeing you. This is going back to writing. They start reading your stuff. You'll be amazed. They start finding you. People you don't even know start coming into your emails because we're Tulane. Know the space you're in. They find you, don't they? Yeah. And they're like, hey, I see that you specialize in trauma, right? Dr. Friedman specializes in shit stirring. Can you come over here and I need you to come talk on how you stir the stuff. And then all of a sudden, and Dr. Freeman builds them, say, this is what I want you to pay me. And you put your number and they say, okay. And you click send on invoice to go and they pay it. And that's how it works. And it's that simple, but usually we just don't know how to start it. And we want to do everything. And we're always all over the place because our lives are chaotic, because that's just what we're used to being. And so I'm asking for all of you, figure out what you want to do. You have to go, you can do many tracks, but where do you want to start? Stay fidelitous to that one track, master it, and then start going from one to the other. Every place has money. There's no such thing. We're still a very wealthy nation. Yes, we are. Right. And if you want it, it exists. And so I would start there. That's for the DSW people and the MSW people as well, when you get to that point. Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm taking notes because I'm about to get this money for sure. All right, Dr. Freeman.
Yes, I just want to piggyback and give y'all a quick tip about how I made my money when I came out of my MSW. I am not saying this to brag or anything like that. I am the type of person, like, if someone presents something to me, they have to present to me facts because I need to know that you are somewhat of an expert in what you're talking about, right? So if I need to, I'm more than happy to show my tax records. When I graduated with my MSW, I made $200,000 that year. This is how I did it. If you are in an MSW program or a DSW program, you have taken an evaluations class, right? And you still have that form. That evaluations form is literally nonprofit compliance. Every fiscal year, nonprofits are looking for someone to come in and evaluate their program and their policies as they prepare to go for new grants, or their grant funder is going to be coming in the fall to make sure that they're hitting their benchmarks and they are paying people to do it. And that is what I do every summer. Big or small, I don't care how big or small your agency is. If you got some money, I am more than happy to do your evaluation for you. Half the time, I never even see these people. They send over their paperwork. I do it. I send them back. And like Dr. Beasley said, they pay me my invoice. My mentor also told me when I got my MSW, she handed me a check for $250 and said, go get your LLC right now. There are so many ways for you to make money. And the other thing, like Dr. Beasley said, and 100% I am a product of it. I was published with my MSW capstone, and I did not know that people could find you when you publish. And I started getting emails. And people were like, hey, we see you got published about HIV and criminalization and self-efficacy amongst African American men who have sex with men. We would love for you to come to Chicago and speak to the Chicago Black Gay Men's Caucus about this. And I did it the first time for free on my own dime because I thought that's what you do. And I told my mentor, she was like, I'm gonna slap you. And so we had a conversation about this is what you asked for because now you are considered an expert in this area. I was one of the only people who had published something like that. So it wasn't like there were a whole bunch of people that they could go to. So even on the MSW level, guys, there are so many opportunities for you to get published without having to do actual research. The Journal on Social Work Education has a section called Teaching Note, where it's literally where they're asking for the experiences of teachers and students in social work pedagogy. I did a teaching note based on what I felt was the lack of spiritual education when it comes to social work pedagogy, so that social workers are not trained on spiritual diversity when we go out into the field. And that was based off of my experience of going out into the field and having a client who was Wiccan and knowing absolutely nothing about this religion and realizing that I had never been taught how to deal with this kind of situation. I was taught to basically assume that everybody was coming to see me was going to be a member of an Abrahamic faith, and that has not been my experience. And so there are so many opportunities for you to get your name out there and show yourself as the experts that you guys are. Because again, like Dr. Beasley said, we are a minority and oppressed in this country. Part of the reason that we make the best social workers is because we are not coming to this because of someone else's experience. We are coming to this because of our lived experiences and our ancestral memory. We have a level of passion that simply no one else in the community will ever have. And so you are the expert and you have the opportunity to really put yourself out there. And not only, I don't want to keep saying make money, but again, I am a Capricorn, I am materialistic. I know my vices. My self-care is add to cart, book flight. I know me. But you have the opportunity to go out there and really not only make the life that you want to make, but really make the change that you want to make for your community. And so everything Dr. Beasley said, if I could print it out and send it to my students, because I keep saying, y'all get y'all LLC so you can go out here and do what you want to do. You don't have to go out here and immediately start working for somebody else. You can go out here and work for yourself and still make very decent money and still make an impact.
Reach. All right, we are winding down. We want to have a final closing word from our Madam President, Ms. Kennedy.
Hi, everyone. I'm the president. Thank you all for joining. Thank you to our wonderful panelists. It has been an honor. I've appreciated this a lot. Very thankful and happy. I'm a little nervous, don't know why, but it has been amazing listening to all of our panelists share what they do and provide knowledge on all the stuff that we need upcoming graduation. I still have a few more months to go, but I know some people on here are graduating this December. And I think you all cleared all the anxieties that everyone is feeling. So I appreciate that. And I think we all appreciate that. Again, thank you.
Thank you all. And Dr. Hayes, I know you had your hand. You have any final words? She's our other advisor along with Dr. Reginald Parquet.
Yes, I just put it into the chat, actually.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys know that we actually started before the pandemic in our efforts in forming the National Association of Black Social Workers here on Tulane's campus. I would just like to say thank you to Justin Guy, who actually got it done. I mean, and it's been a lot of work, and he continues to do a lot of work because it's a lot of systems and bureaucracy that he has to go through to get this accomplished. So I just wanted to say thank you to Justin for that. I want to say thank you to each of the panelists. For those of you, I know I admire you every day, and you know who you are, Dr. Beasley and Dr. Weinberg, love you. And for those of you who I do not know, thank you so much for sharing yourselves with me. I have learned so much, and I appreciate each of you. So I just wanted to say thank you. And I just hope that our Black social work organization continues, and that, having 46 members strong on Tulane's campus is an amazing accomplishment. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Hayes. And once again, thank you to all of our panelists. We appreciate your time, your experience, your wisdom, your knowledge, but we also just appreciate your spirit. You have a spirit of excellence, and we're so grateful that you shared not only your time with us, but your spirit, your lived experience with all of us. So we're just so grateful for you and who you are. We just encourage you to continue to do great work in our communities, and we're just so grateful that you are here and that you are needed and valued in every space. And to all of our MSWs, I want to let you know, thank you for participating. If you have any further questions, connection, please make sure that you reach out to our panelists or other people here that are also part of the DSW program. We'll be more than happy to mentor, provide some type of support. We're all here to make sure that we're all successful in all that we do. Just know that you are seen, you are valued, and that you are respected and you are loved. So we'll go ahead and close with that and wish you all a good night. And you all take care and be safe out there.